It's a remarkable thing that in this age in which it is effortless to telecommute across the planet, in which we could all occupy whatever woodsy spot appeals to our love of nature, that cities are doing so well. That cities are so vibrant, they're so important, are so successful in so many parts of the world. The primary reason for this is that globalization and new technologies have increased the returns to being smart. And we are a social species that gets smart by being around other smart people. That's what makes cities successful. They enable people to come together and learn from one another and work together and create the collaborative chains of invention that are responsible for humanity's greatest hits, from Athenian philosophy to Renaissance art to Facebook. Well, at the local level, the most important economic development strategy is fundamentally to attract and train smart people and then get out of their way. It's about having a set of policies that make a city attractive to young, entrepreneurial, smart, creative people. It's about working on the core urban amenities, like better schools, making sure that your streets are safe and your commutes are reasonable. And it's also about paying somewhat more attention to the ephemeral quality of life issues that make cities fun and exciting to young entrepreneurial people. At the national level, it's mostly an issue of getting a level playing field for cities. What's needed is having a set of policies that don't act as if somehow or other cities are un-American, but rather understand that the American dream doesn't have to mean a white picket fence in the suburbs. It can also mean an apartment in Chicago. And that means rethinking the home mortgage interest deduction, that basically bribes Americans to leave urban apartments and move to suburban homes. It means rethinking highway policies that continuously bribe people to take to the roads and drive long distances. And it means, I think, most challengingly, it means rethinking our system of local schools and thinking about how to get more competition, more choice, more innovation into the all-important sector of urban education. It is, if anything, more important than ever, right? I mean, the recession has pointed out the weaknesses of the American economic model. And the one thing that we know that is reliably connected with the success of cities, with the success of people, and with the very success of countries is human capital. Skills are really the bedrock on which both urban economic success and the strength of America's future rests. It is more important than ever for us to be focused on policies and innovative ideas like the talent dividend that will make sure that America has the skills and has the talent in order to compete and succeed in the 21st century. So, this is absolutely right. We're talking here in the middle of Chicago, which is a city that, of course, thrives. It's a great place to find a good meal and a great place to have fun. And that, I think, reflects two things, two policies which Chicago has done reasonably well. One of which is a certain amount of investment in public amenities, in things like the parks that Mayor Daley made such a priority early on in his administration. But it also means not having regulations that kill the spirit of entrepreneurship, right? It's not as if entrepreneurs are just about making a city productive. They're also about making it fun. I've been recently involved in a bunch of discussions over food truck regulations, both in Boston and in Detroit. And it somehow or other seems like madness to me that Detroit would be saying no to anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur in the inner city. And yet, there you have story after story of these people who want to start a healthy, fun, innovative food truck, and yet they're being stymied by a maze of out-of-date regulations. Recessions are a great time to take a good pair of pruning shears to out-of-date rules and to make sure that entrepreneurs can actually do their job and make cities fun. So together with Matthew Kahn, an environmental economist at UCLA, I've gone through and tried to estimate the carbon emissions associated with living in different parts of the US, and indeed living in cities and places like China as well. We certainly found that there was substantially lower carbon emissions associated with living in central cities as opposed to living in suburbs, and across metropolitan areas, substantially lower carbon emissions in those metropolitan areas that were more compact. There are two reasons for the urban edge in energy use, one of which is smaller apartments, typically even holding income and family size constant. So smaller living units mean less electricity and mean less home heating energy. And the second reason is shorter drives, of course. And even factoring in the energy used by public transportation, you just get much less energy use in cities. Now, I know that there's a certain amount of skepticism in some quarters about global warming, but that shouldn't change the fact that we all should hope that our energy use is not, through the roof, right? If the carbon emissions of India and China rise to the level seen in the sprawling U.S., global carbon emissions go up by 127%. If they stop at the level seen in hyperdense but still wealthy Hong Kong, global carbon emissions go up by less than 30%, right? I don't care if you're worried about global warming or you just care about the price of your fuel at the pump. We all have a stake to see that these countries build up rather than building out. And I think America getting its own urban policies in order is a great place for us to start on that. You know, I think they're thinking about the cities of the late 19th century. I mean, I think they're sort of imagining a world like Batman's Gotham City. This is not what density feels like anymore, not in wealthy cities, I mean, not in wealthy countries. Density is we're perfectly capable of building comfortable apartments that are not particularly loud, that are, affordable to ordinary Americans, at least if we don't regulate the heck out of that industry, that can make city living an absolute joy. Now, it's not for everyone, and the whole point of America should be to allow people to have different choices about where to live. But density is a perfectly valid choice, and it's appealing to millions and millions of people throughout the world. And we should have policies that make it possible for individuals to choose where to live. We shouldn't privilege one particular type of lifestyle over another.